Good evening, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. And boy, is it about to kick off. Yes, make sure you're liking the content, everybody. Please make sure you're liking, all the videos. Head on over to the Patreon if you want some bonus content. Waffle. But please make sure you do so. It really helps the channel. If you've not seen the video earlier on today, which was a nice little video around Ellen Road, I think you'd all really enjoy that. So please make sure you do so. I'll leave a link on the video or in the description somewhere or in related videos. Please make sure you check that out. But today we're here with breaking news discussing Everton's 10-point deduction and what that means and why is it relevant to Leeds United. Well, obviously financial fair play has been breached, and there was a Premier League investigation into Everton's spending, which has seemingly gone on for a long time now. And this was instigated really by Angus Canary, spoken about it before. And apparently he's been jointly responsible for the Premier League's investigation alongside Burnley chairman Alan Pace, obviously newly of Burnley, the American. Everton were accused of a single breach, profit and sustainability, breaching the rules back in March and referred to an independent commission. And we know that they had embargoes. We know for years now Everton have been restricted when it's come to the transfer window and what they're able to spend. And Leeds United, Burnley and others, apparently Leicester have been thrown in there, are not happy with how Everton have been spending in the financial situation under Farhad Moshiri, which, let's be honest, has been nothing short of nuts. They have been spending big money, and the implications that have been, the restrictions and constraints, I should say, that have been put on Everton have meant that they've not been able to really splash the cash, and that's why it's always been really confusing when there's been discussions of them getting Jack Harrison on a long-term deal. There was discussions about GNONTO on a long-term deal for 20 to 25 million, and the eyebrows have been raised. How on earth are Everton able to spend this money? Apparently they'd beaten the embargo and they've been able to, I've been told, about that they were going to potentially get a 3 to 4 point Premier League deduction here when it comes to points, but it's been significantly more than that. And the spending's left them in a state of which they've not been able to compete. They've been battling against the drop for many years, but the breach has been thought to have been in relation to interest payments on their new stadium, obviously the Bramley Moor development, which we spoke about earlier on today in another video. And it's very unclear as to how much expense was given to Frank Lampard and Sean Dyche, to be able to, unfairly, at Leeds' expense and Burnley's expense and Leicester's expense, that's been able to give them that advantage, really. And obviously, Leeds are now feeling extremely aggrieved, and Burnley are aggrieved, and Leicester are aggrieved, and apparently it's turning into, according to Matt Hughes of the Daily Mail, a potential £300 million lawsuit that all three clubs and apparently others are going to go into to seek compensation against Everton. Obviously Leeds find themselves in the division below now. Everton are in the Premier League. They're doing pretty well, and obviously two clubs that find themselves in very, very different situations, even though Leeds are on an upward trajectory. And what's bound to result from this development is tension between the clubs. Obviously there's especially if there's a major punishment that's going to be sought by Leeds and other clubs and put on Everton. And obviously, like I've said before, if Everton have, unfairly gained at Leeds' expense, then, Leeds are 4 months into the season in the second tier, and Everton are 14th in the Premier League, and obviously it would be difficult to take. And obviously the Toffees did look to take advantage of our failure to beat the drop throughout the summer with wide interest in members of our squad. And that's the crazy thing about this, with pending lawsuits, with pending, problems. Everton was still looking to almost ransack Leeds' squad, really. There was interest in Somerville, apparently. There was talks about Somerville. There was talks about Jack Harrison. Obviously, there's talks about Willie Gnonto. There's been previous talks of Calvin Phillips, obviously, but with an appeal certain from Everton, that's going to be happening, obviously, in the coming days, with them immediately being given this 10-point deduction. It's going to be very unclear to see the outcome of this, because obviously if Leeds are then to not only to not only communicate with other clubs, but really slap down on a lawsuit it's going to be fascinating to see. I wanted to do a little bit of a discussion as well on Marcelo Bielsa. Obviously, his Uruguay side beat the world champions last night, and Lionel Messi says the former Leeds United manager has already been able to implement his style on Uruguay. Obviously, Uruguay have got some significant wins since Bielsa's been there, and according to several reports, they were absolutely excellent last night. And Messi said last night, you can see Bielsa's hand on the way Uruguay is playing in all the national teams or clubs, including Argentina. His style was very unrecognisable, and he has a good generation of players in Uruguay. It just shows how lucky we were to have Bielsa, and how I think we thought his star would maybe always be circulating around Leeds United. Well, you forget about how big Marcelo Bielsa is when the best player in world football is talking about him, and yeah, it's great to hear as well. But Leeds United, another bit of news, loaned out defender Cody Phillips, no intention of extending his contract with the club, according to Phil Hay. Listen, I think we all understand that Cody's never going to get into Leeds United's plans. Really, I think that's pretty evident. And yeah, it's good to see that Cody has moved on and all this sort of stuff, and he's going to have a little pathway there at Birmingham, but it's never going to work. I mean, I always thought he was better than Luke Ayling. I still do believe that. He's starting week in, week out for Birmingham. I don't think Luke Ayling will be doing that, and that's what I was saying at the start of the window. But there's no way now he gets anywhere near that top that top level when it comes to Leeds and getting in that side. Leeds winger GNONTO scored twice yesterday in the Italy under-21 side. That beat San Marino 7-0. He played relatively well from a lot of the reports, but 10 minutes after winning a penalty, GNONTO was then forced off with an injury as he clutched his hamstring out wide. Now, as he received the ball out wide. Now, listen, GNONTO not being available for Leeds is typical, and just, so irritating, because I think as an impact sub, he's going to be exceptionally important for Leeds going forward. But what I would like to say with regards to Willy GNONTO is, if this is a hamstring injury that's going to see him out for a period of time, that means he's not going to get himself in the shop window. That means that maybe leading up to January, the noise is going to be a little bit quieter around Willy, because right now, we don't know the grade of the hamstring injury, but you would expect him to be out, if it is a serious one, for the best part of 3 to 5 weeks. Don't know yet, obviously. But I think the noise around Willy GNONTO, it'd be nice if it quelled a little bit. Because let's be honest, the realistic standpoint around all of this is that we want Willy to stay at Leeds United. And hopefully he will, if all of this noise sort of quells, which I think it needs to at this moment in time. I want to keep this Leeds squad as it is, because I think it's the best sort of synergy and cohesiveness right now for Leeds to get promoted. But guys, we're going to leave it there for your news on this Friday afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please check out the video from earlier. I genuinely believe you'll all enjoy it. It's about Ellen Road, and I'll leave it, as I say, it'll be on screen in a couple of minutes, but it's well worth it. I think you'll really enjoy it. I hope you're enjoying the content as well. We've got another video coming out probably this weekend / Monday, which I think you'll enjoy as well. But please, if you've had some bonus time, some bonus edition, check out the Patreon. Shout out to Will, shout out to Eric, and shout out to Steve, who joined yesterday. I hope you're enjoying the content. It was nice to speak to you guys as well. And yeah, make sure you do so, everybody. Really appreciate your support as always. Let me know your thoughts on the contents we've spoken about in this video. I'll catch you in a bit. Cheers.